Good evening, my condemned Concho-Raptors. Vivian's vision was unsettling, even if we know Phaethon must fall like their namesake. We're all sitting on the edge of our seat, waiting for the zenless devs to do the most ambitious thing in hoyo history. But what if it's already happening? I was going to make a prediction about when it may happen, but my heart sank when I realized the main story is gearing up for Belle or Wise to die or drastically change locations during Season 2. I've been calling it the Afterlife arc, but we can only speculate on how the writers will handle it. We have a lot of evidence to suggest that it will be inspired by the Divine Comedy, so do what you want with that information. It's unnerving knowing that it will happen either way though. There have been too many death flags for Belle and Wise to ignore their tragic fate. I'm sure the eagle-eyed players know many of these already. Even people who aren't fans of ZZZ know that something bad is inevitable for the main characters. The closest we've seen from hoyo is having one of the main casts disappear and return. I suspect that something similar will happen here, especially with the amount of foreshadowing that it will be a fake-out death. I found 13 death flags. Yes, you heard that right. Intense storytelling. I already talked about the use of tarot cards, but I completely missed this one. 13 is the death card, and we just hit 13 death flags. Guys, I think something bad is going to happen in 2.2. Starting with the most obvious one, the name of their legendary proxy account is the most telling. Phaethon's epitaph says, "Here lies Phaethon, who in the sun god's chariot fared, and though greatly he failed, more greatly he dared." We see this in the lore teaser video, and the entire prologue is a retelling of the second part of the Phaethon myth. The next death flag that we see for Phaethon is in Chapter 1 after Nekomata throws Eos on top of the train. Just listen to the scene. Nekomata picks up Eos and tosses them onto the train car roof. Eos gets up and walks down a dark tunnel towards a bright light to find the opening for the train car. I don't think the foreshadowing could be any more direct.
But it's a piece of cake for you. You should be called King of the World. Now, King of the World, please head to the driver's compartment to complete your coronation.
Okay. Just need to press the emergency stop button.
After that, we see one in Just Another Day at the Video Store. The first cutscene starts with Wise dropping the car key fob, turning around and picking it up. We know that this could be connected to the Phaethon myth's second part, but it's most likely connected to the literature used as inspiration for this entire arc. I already did a deep dive on it. If you haven't seen it, please check it out because the parallels are uncanny. Next, we see it throughout the entirety of Season 1, with the non-player Phaethon becoming more sentimental over the season, but we also get the sense of impending doom from them, like they know something that the player is not privy to. The next one is in Chapter 4 with the couch scene after the player character is rescued from the hollow by the Sons of Caledon. We have to look at the succulents around them. There are 14, and in Chinese culture, if I'm not mistaken, that sounds like must die or will die. Come on. That's so obvious. And then again, to the last point, look at Belle and Wise's reactions after they run up to each other. It has to be a clue. We also see it in a high-octane farewell. The video zooms in on the Sunflint where we get to see the first Overlord falling into Cinder Lake, but the character changes into one with wings. Then it transitions into Just a Flame, where we see Lighter closing his lighter and the flame extinguishing. After Vivian's vision, we have confirmation that this is showing us foreshadowing for Belle and Wise. The next death flag is the drastic change in cover art for the main story missions and events. We see it start in 1.5 with a dream come true at last event. They are literally falling into a fissure. It's quickly followed by the 1.6 art of Belle and Wise's vampires. Belle is sitting inside a coffin. Be so for real, this is obviously deeper than being eye candy art. Then, they're falling in the 2.0 cover art, and in 2.1, Belle is sleeping as an angel and Wise is a cherubim focused on Belle. What's next, right? I mean, if we see something like Belle and Wise sleeping near the water, then we can organize a pity party and cry together because they are guaranteed to be going through something terrible in that patch. We also see it in Hollow Zero. This mysterious voice interaction is foreshadowing for Belle and Wise, even if they're not the ones speaking. It reads, "Can you lend me a Denny? My dumb partner left me. Instead of a tombstone, he only asked for a Denny. I forgot to bring a coin this year. I swear I'm not mourning him. I am reliving the most thrilling moment of our lives over and over again." Afterlife confirmed. In Vivian's vision, we see Belle or Wise, whoever you pick as the player character, falling from the sky and they have their wings extended, similar to the High Octane farewell video. But we don't know if it's happening or not. We are led to believe that it is not happening, it has not happened, and Vivian's vision was wrong. We also know that Vivian's visions are never wrong. This is also the same chapter where the mayor gets access to the HDD, the beginning of the end for Belle and Wise. Moving forward in season 2, all of the death flags and foreshadowing are in reference to the third part of the Faith and Myth titled Reactions to Phaethon's Death. At the end of the season 2 preview video, we have a view of Shu Yuan's sister reflected in the water. The change of perspective is supposed to invoke the change that Phaethon goes through physically during the third part of the myth. The next one had me screaming at my phone. Yuan takes out a life insurance policy for Belle and Wise. This is direct foreshadowing. How could they say that and think it wouldn't go over our heads? It's not like we got beat with the stupid stick. This is like characters saying, "I'm retiring after this," and then not returning from whatever obstacle they go to fight. It's kind of obvious. The stakes keep rising, so does the intensity of these death flags. The next one is the mayor commanding Sarah to shoot the airship carrying Yuan and Phaethon out of the sky. It falls into a hollow and they are able to escape, but Phaethon still falls in this scene, so we have to take it as it is. Finally, number 13. Alice's Cygnus constellation conversation with the proxy in her trust event cutscene and the way it is shown in her icon for Knock Knock and the proxy network both allude to the fact that Phaethon is living on borrowed time. Their death arc already started. The constellation does not show up until after the third part of the Phaethon myth. I would also like to explain the last part of the Phaethon myth for you because there seems to be some conflation between the different versions within the community. I spent a long time figuring out what version of the Phaethon myth the devs are using for Belle and Wise. We know it is Ovid's Metamorphoses, and I have discussed this at length many times. To be frank, I can't just link a video or playlist for this. I use this as part of my analysis for every video, and I constantly reference it. I know it well, so I have some strong opinions on the translations. I use the version from Stephanie McCarter because I feel it is the most respectful of the original literature by keeping the themes and scenes intact. I do not recommend this version for anyone who is extremely sensitive because it explores how trauma leads to transformation. It does not shy away from the horrors of being human. It has moments that were difficult for me to get through, and I have a high tolerance for reading whack shit from the past. I have a different and free version linked in the description below, but I always like to include and explain my sources and my reasoning for picking those sources. The third part of the myth is titled Reactions to Phaethon's Death, the Hyades, Cygnus, and the Sun. I understand most of the quotes I use are dense, and as my channel grows, I find the gap between what I assume my viewers know and what the new viewers know is growing. I need to cover some confusing things. This version of the myth fuses Helios and Apollo, and Cygnus is Phaethon's cousin on his mother's side. Cygnus is the constellation, not the character, which is going to help us decode what the line from Alice means as foreshadowing. Put that clue in your back pocket for now. This is exactly what the myth says. Sprawled round his tomb both night and day, they call Phaethon who can't hear their wretched wails. 4 moons had filled their orbs with waxing horns, and they take up their now accustomed mourning. This is setting the scene. It's interesting that Ovid's version is speaking of Phaethon as if being dead isn't a prerequisite for dying. The group is crowded around and having a visceral expression of grief. After Phaethon's sisters are turned to trees, Cygnus undergoes his own transformation. The poem says, Cygnus, the son of Zenless, was to see this wonder. This man was your kinsman Phaethon, through his maternal blood, but fondness strengthened your bond. He left behind his kingdom, for he had ruled Logaria's great cities. His dirges echo through the Po's green banks and brooks, whose woods the sisters had increased. His voice grows thin, white feathers cloak his hair, his neck juts from his chest, webbing connects his reddened toes, wings cover up his sides, his mouth transforms into a round beak. Cygnus becomes a brand new bird, a swan. Yet he does not take flight, remembering the fire Jove hurled unjustly. Hating fire, he dwells in water, flame's antithesis. Now, in this section, we learn that Cygnus and Phaethon are cousins, and in response to Phaethon's murder, Cygnus screams until he becomes a swan. Ovid is also speaking directly to Phaethon in one of the lines. But what does that actually mean for Alice and the foreshadowing that she gives us? The Timefield family patent is most likely connected to the work that Carolarna was doing and whatever Belle and Wise went through at Helios Academy. We know Alice is currently in school to study ether technology and the hollows, so her interactions with Phaethon read like meeting one of her heroes for the first time. I talked about this dynamic with the proxies and playable agents in the past. It's most evident with Vivian. We also see Belle and Wise behave similarly with Astra and Evelyn. They get flustered and lose their minds, go a little bonkers. I love this role reversal because it shows how complex Belle and Wise are. We also see their growth arc to unlock their special power requires them to be comfortable with this kind of attention, really to make it believable. If they weren't humble while meeting their fans, the zenless players would not like them as main characters. Alice's crush also feels like it could be a reference to Virgil's use of the myth in the Aeneid. Oh my god, we've come full circle, so this means Lucia will most likely show up soon, and if there is a character with her, her name could be Beatrice like we see in the ballet Twin Towers. We might also be going to Minerva quarters soon, like the next location has to be closer to Helios Academy. Obviously, but I think Minerva quarter is where we're gonna go. Back to the topic at hand. Belle and Wise react the exact same way by acting like they don't know because this topic clearly makes them uncomfortable. Either way, they get uncomfortable. They have been going through it and their lives have changed drastically since the start of 2.0. In-game, a whole year has passed and a little bit of digging gives us a clear timeline to put the past year into perspective. 11 years prior to the game's current timeline year, the fall of the old capital happens and Belle and Wise are unable to graduate because of the disaster. We don't know much of what happened between then and them moving on to 6th Street. The 141 anniversary side mission tells us that there was a few years in between them leaving Helios and moving on to 6th Street. The only thing we know they did in that time period is break into the Topps Vault and most likely White Star Institute because of Mole in the Hole. And then, after they achieve their legendary proxy status with the Phaethon account, then they get Fairy. So, over the course of a year, they have several near-death experiences, get significantly closer to their goal, but they have a new set of obstacles and big bads to overcome. Within a few months, they are living somewhere else temporarily and are going into the Hollows without Eos willingly. Every aspect of their lives have changed. It feels like a completely different game than it was a year ago because it is. It's reflected in the story and it's reflected in the player experience. The story and vibe is the same, but after 2 overhauls, the devs, players, and community need a moment to rest. But there is no magic in holding tension on a plotline if anyone is given a moment to breathe. So it's safe to assume that now that the players are sufficiently prepared for Phaethon's fall, we won't get a break until it happens, and it's probably going to happen soon. There are 2 ways to interpret it though. One is more symbolic and the other is physical. After the Zenless Zone Zero cutscene in the prologue, Belle and Wise are already in the Afterlife arc and the timelines break there. After scrutinizing the lore, I think the mayor getting access to the HDD is the physical version of what Vivian's vision is about. This is the start of the end for Phaethon, and they are living on borrowed time. We have 2 instances of pre-scene foreshadowing for this. As you know, the first time we see it is in the prologue with the use of the second part of the Phaethon myth. White noise yoinks their legendary proxy faith in account and targets the HDD. So we know that when Belle and Wise have their second death, it will be related to the HDD being attacked. The next time the stakes are raised, Belle gets lost in the hollow and Wise has to go find her. When the stakes rise again, we will probably be left on the cliffhanger, which is consistent with the structure of season 1. I'm bummed this has to happen, but I'm glad we're all on the same page that Wise has the same aura as a Disney movie mom. I would be heartbroken if we didn't have so much evidence that it's going to be temporary. I mean, I could be wrong, but if I entertained you, please bonk that subscribe button. Let me know what you think about all the death flags and what you think it means for Belle and Wise. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.